Attention please. This uploading is only for educational purpose. No intention to infringe copyrights. Learning English with Subtitles GPITRAL. Follow us.
Welcome to BreezyJet, Brainiac's answer to the world of low-cost travel. But the kind of uncomfortable and cheap journey I'll be taking isn't in the sky, it's here on the ground. Now, under normal circumstances, if you were fat, lazy or rich, you'd travel in one of these to lug your luggage to the checkout desk. An airport service vehicle, capped at 6 miles per hour. But can I, my luggage and some CO2 do better? I think I can.
At Brainiac, we've always been at the forefront of fire extinguisher propulsion, and today I'll be personally testing 3 new CO2-powered chariots. Am I worried? Am I?
The kind of vehicles I'm going to be riding, I need some first-rate protection. First, the airport trolley, loved around the world for its eccentric steering and controversial braking systems.
Our check-in girl is waiting at the other end of this stylish 50-metre-long departure lounge. But who'll get their luggage to her the fastest? The wily trolley is off like a whippet on heat, and in a first for a vehicle of its kind, it's actually going in a relatively straight line. The airport service vehicle never stands a chance, and I'm at the check-in desk in just 14 seconds.
Flahoonagen! I am the victor.
She liked it, so did I. The sleek aerodynamism of the luggage trolley coupled with the power of CO2 propelling me to a staggering 10 miles an hour.
But what about something a bit more cumbersome and bulky like this? Concierge trolley. Normally used to transport your clobber from the front desk up to your room. It's certainly got a great roll bar.
The question is, will I need it? At 5 kilograms lighter than the trolley, I'm away in a blur of brass and CO2 steam. But I'm betrayed by my veering caster wheel, sending me way off course. So as we reach the check-in, it's a photo finish at 15.32 seconds. With its poor steering and cumbersome frame, you can see it only just pipped the airport service vehicle at the finishing line, averaging 6.5 miles an hour. It's time to get down to basics.
With me and my suitcase.
So this is it. The purest method of luggage locomotion there is. Luggage itself. A mighty blast of CO2 and nothing. The tiny wheels won't budge the weight they're being asked to carry, no matter how large the thrust at the rear. Like riding a donkey at the Grand National, there can only be one outcome. The airport service vehicle romps home, and I can only be magnanimous in defeat. So, after 3 attempts to beat the old, lazy and rich to the check-in, the airport trolley comes out on top.
Well, the suitcase was a waste of time, but it's official. The quickest way to get your luggage from A to B at 10 miles an hour. It's the CO2-powered airport trolley.
Dear John, I'm a canoeist who loves a drink. Normally, I'm well in control of my bladder muscles, but when I'm in the canoe, the gushing water gives me an uncontrollable urge to take a leak, often with unfortunate consequences. The question is, which of my senses makes me want to go to the loo fastest? Dean of Templecombe. Well, Dean, accident prevention is something that we take very seriously here on Brainiac, so I'll be very pleased to help. I'm going to experience the sight, sound and feel of water to see which one gets me running to the loo the fastest. But first, I'm going to drink a yard of the stuff to get me in the mood. Thanks, Brainiac.
Our brains associate running water with the splashing of wee. That's why being near a gurgling stream sends a message to a full bladder that it's time to unzip and let rip. But which of our senses gets the brain communicating with the bladder fastest?
Now, I'm going to listen to the sound of water, and this Brainiac is going to time me to see how long it takes before I have an uncontrollable urge to wee. Right, so you take that. I'll have that blindfold. Put it on, start the water, and start the clock.
The sound of water is picked up by tiny hairs in my inner ear, which trigger more than 1 billion nerve signals. They're sent to my temporal lobe, which in turn passes increasingly urgent messages to my bladder, forcing me to run to the toilet any moment.
Reckon that's about it. Stop the clock.
Now. So, from tap to toilet in 1 minute 39 seconds. Let's see if the sense of sight makes me go any faster. Another yard of best British tap water to make sure my bladder is equally full for the next stage of the experiment, watching silent footage of running water. The images of running water trigger reactions in the visual cortex of my brain, which should send angrily insistent messages to my bladder just about...
Oh, that'll do.
now. From Gogglebox to Thunderbox in 2 minutes and 5 seconds. 26 seconds slower than the sound of water. Time to show some skin in the name of science.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Right, what I'm going to do now is put in some earplugs and also put a blindfold on. That's to make sure that for the next part of the experiment, I'm influenced solely by the feel of water on me and not by any sight and sound. And to make doubly sure, Brainiac here is going to put a helmet on me. Off you go, Brainiac.
As the water splashes over my almost naked body, receptors in my skin send signals to a part of my brain called the postcentral gyrus. This makes my brain shriek like a fishwife at my bladder until...
Take me to the toilet, Brainiac.
my bladder opens like a tropical monsoon.
Right, what time was that, Brainiac? Oh, 1 minute 15. Oh, well, there's your answer, Dean from Templecombe. It's not the sound or the sight of water that makes you want to go to the toilet most, it's the feel of it. So if you can avoid that when you're canoeing, you can drink to your heart's content. I think we're going to need a bigger bowl.
Everyone knows that NASA is the #1 organisation when it comes to using rockets for science. But there's some stuff that NASA never tried. Stuff like, can rockets be used to launch a biological research module to optimum altitude? The rocket, 6 Jupiter 300s. The research module, a shed in rustic pine. Optimum altitude, around 200 feet.
Yes, we're going to try and launch a common or garden shed. It's all very well going where no man has gone before, but only a fool would go there without somewhere to store his lawnmower.
This shed weighs an incredible 150 kilograms, so we're going to need a lot of power to send this off up into the atmosphere. And that's why we've got this cluster of rockets here with a combined thrust of 0.5 metric ton for 2 seconds. And I've written my phone number on the inside of the shed there, so if any aliens come in contact with it, they can give me a ring and we can start negotiations. So there we are, the world's first rocket-powered shed. NASA never tried this. Okay, Brainiacs, clear the launch site. Take off in several seconds. Okay, final checks. Countdown in T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
asleep amid the flowers. For example of
That wonderful, wonderful shed! The ammonium perchlorate and powdered aluminium in those rockets really did the job, as shown by our onboard shed cam. Beautiful!
such a beautiful day.
So there we are. Rockets can take a shed into space, and I reckon that went about 3 miles high and came down almost intact. Results, please. Thank you. So, when man finally makes contact with green-fingered gardening aliens, you can't say that the Brainiac rocket scientists didn't have a little bit to do with that. Take that to NASA. In today's free-thinking society, it's perfectly acceptable for a young gentleman to take pride in his barnet fair, or hair as we call it. Even you may have been in position of running out of hair gunk. If that's the case, what do? Easy. You use some other household commodity instead. But what's the best improvised hair product?
Because I'm stuck on you.
Down at the lab, an unusual sight. 3 Brainiacs with freshly washed hair that's untouched by gel, wax, or mousse. In front of them, 3 improvised grooming products. Glue sticks, raw eggs, and a pig's lard. Each item chosen to introduce shape and style to those lank, lifeless mops, but which will give the strongest hold?
Begin hairstyling.
The Brainiacs have 5 minutes to go wild with their styles and sculpt something really unique. First, the lard. Heat-treated scrapings from the inside of pig skin, not dissimilar to the ingredients of old-fashioned hair grease. Pomade, as it was known, gave the hair a slick, shiny look, which was de rigueur for men's hairstyles up to the 1950s. Egg white, or albumen as it's known in the egg trade, is best known for its use in meringues. But once beaten to stiff peaks, it's almost indistinguishable from hair mousse. However, without containing a cocktail of highly refined petrochemicals, this homemade mousse requires baking on a high heat to activate its hair-hardening properties.
Whatever you
Finally, glue sticks, offering a convenience that eggs and lard can only dream of. This DIY hair product can easily be slipped into a pocket, sleeve, or small bag. But how good is it on hair? Its adhesive power comes from PVP, an ingredient that's also put into actual hair gel. And before you go writing in, it's water-soluble, unlike other glues. You have been warned. Just a few more seconds for some final finessing.
Stop styling.
And remarkably, we've ended up with 3 rather successful styles. The lard has brought a clean-cut, brilliantine shine to that classic short back and sides. Egg white has created a naturally soft, yet fully upright Mohican. And using glue, this Brainiac has emulated the barnet of a saucy punk rocker. But which DIY hair product is the strongest? First, lard. Well, it's the shortest hair, and despite a shine you can see your face in, it's starting to lose it round the edges. Onto the egg white. And it's robust to start with, but after a few seconds at hurricane force, the hair is more no-hawk than mohawk. Finally, glue stick. And look at that. It's set like cement on a shag pile. Some minor underlying movement, but there's no shifting that style.
And the best alternative hair gel is glue stick.
So, if you're having a hair mare and stuck for something to put on it, it's got to be glue stick every time.